Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the pseudo studio here at Punishers. We have an update coming for you. We'll announce that at a later time. That's up to the big boss here to let you know what's going on with the studio situation. But we are bringing you a hopper review here. So these are two price comparable hoppers that are very much in the same kind of wheelhouse as each other. So we're going to go over specs, how we feel about them, talk about as many details as we can. And yeah, we'll help make a decision for you guys. So if you like the video, like it, subscribe to the channel, definitely leave us a comment, let us know what you thought. And when you're done watching, use the link in the description to purchase either one of these from Punishers. Catch you after this. I'm so free. So if you run out of paint, you just take this off the top of your gun and hock it at somebody and they're out. It's like dodgeball.
Specifically this one because the shell can tolerate
it can take a beating. It really can.
You know, Doug, if we did have nuclear war, I'm pretty sure that Dye LTRs would still be around.
They probably would. As a former Dye Rotor owner, I can at least vouch for that. I had one. God, I bought it probably 2009 or something maybe 2010, and I still have it to this day. I donated it to Ohio State, but I have access to it whenever I would want it. It's that like digi camo green color with the Exalt speed feed fins in it.
All right, so anyways, we're here to compare two loaders. All right, so Doug, what do you got?
So in front of me is the SPIRE iR2, which is just the same as their IR series. Really, it's a different shell. They made some updates to the actual loader itself, right? But like not really. It's really just the shell, which I thought was a necessary update. And in front of Joel is the Dye Rotor LTR. Bam. There you go.
On.
It's there you go.
Kind of.
There you go. It's balanced. Sorry. You're good. So,
how do you
start this, boss?
So first things first, let's talk about price point.
Okay.
$109.95 for the LTR. They just increased the pricing, which all of inflation.
Yeah.
And then the Virtue SPIRE iR2 comes at $109.95 as well.
Okay, cool.
So it used to be. Matched. This is crazy. This loader used to be $129.95.
Okay, so that was my original thought.
I don't know why. They raised the pricing. Now they're back. Virtue is bipolar or
temperamental.
Something. Yeah.
But I love them. I love their products, but temperamental.
Yes. So needless to say, it comes in at this exact same price point. So we're here to talk about some of the key features of both and which one we choose for the price point. So I guess I'll start with the LTR. So the LTR does come in 5 different colors. The SPIRE iR2 does as well. We just don't have the purple or black
in front of
the camera.
And black.
So the LTR is toolless to disassemble. You just lift this little tab right here, this button push right here, and then if you want to further take it apart so that you can access the rotor assembly here or change your 3 AA batteries, you can do that. It goes by tension system, so balls in the drive stack is what keeps the rotor from spinning. As soon as that tension disappears, it starts spinning again.
Yep.
So Doug?
As far as the IR2 here, even simpler to take apart this way. Just a little latch here in the back that just comes right through and out. Bam, you already have that out. And then there's a little thumb tab here. Pull forward on that and you can pull out your tray and separate that. So now you can clean your shell entirely. I actually have known a lot of dudes from OSU that they'll just take this and stick it in the dishwasher.
Yeah.
Just wash, because I mean it gets it really good and taken care of and all that. Now as far as the internals down to this level, I have never taken like the drive cone off of one of these. I've never taken them apart. And it looks like you really kind of can't. Is that actually toolless now, Joel?
What's that?
To get this off of here?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, so that's new for me, I think.
It's actually always been that way.
Has it really?
The original SPIRE was that way as well.
Gotcha,
the SPIRE 4 is magnetic, so you just pull off the drive cone.
Gotcha. Whereas this is a little pinch or whatever. You just pinch these together. Okay, cool. So really pretty simple to get it about as far apart as you really would need it to go. Otherwise, if you do need to take this bottom actual raceway out, it will require 3 screws here, as I'm seeing, and you got to kind of get the wires out of the way and unplug it. So a little more difficult.
Let me see that real quick.
Yeah, see.
Yes.
A couple screws just to get it off.
You're right.
And all that.
SPIRE 4, you can take that apart.
Yeah, totally. SPIRE 4, SPIRE 3, totally toolless. So that is going to be one advantage already that the Dye Rotor has over this, is that no screws are required for that to get it as apart as it possibly can be. 3 screws required for this one, but not for changing battery. Battery changing is still totally toolless. It's just right here, same thing, 3 AA's.
Yeah.
So as long as you're not absolutely destroying paint, and really, even if I have, it's easy enough to scoop this out and then just run a squeegee through this and you're good to go. So not a huge deal.
That everything is on that, whereas with is on that tray, meaning the sensor, the motor, the electronics, and all that stuff with the SPIRE iR2, it's all on that tray.
Yep.
It's just plastic. With the Dye LTR, you do have to have way more.
There's a lot of moving parts
to take it fully apart. It will come fully apart so that you can rinse it with hot water to get it fully clean and put it all back together. But there's definitely more moving parts here. So that is something to mention with the LTR, is that disassembly, there's definitely more parts. But how much that affects things, I don't know, especially if like I'm literally talking, it's been 10 seconds, and I have this back together. So that's super nice. And
I want to point out, I have always liked these little locking clips to keep that all in place.
Yeah.
I think that's a very smart design.
So, and then this pops back into place. With this, there is a ramp that comes with the LTR, which is nice. It is an aftermarket feature.
It's about $10, right?
Yeah.
Roughly. So you do have to spend an extra 10 to get the ramp, which puts you at 120 versus 110 to already have it for that.
So I think the two big differences for me here, Doug, is the price point's the same, the colors are pretty much the same. It's whether or not you prefer the IR system, which is the eyes, or whether you prefer the tension system. And then the second thing would be the upgrades to the two.
I'm going to also talk about speed eventually as well.
And speed, yeah. So with the electronics and how these two work, this is tension fed. So to the rate of fire thing, the LTR is going to have a higher feed rate than the SPIRE iR2.
Yep.
Than the SPIRE iR2, as Doug yeets the tray. So that is really nice if you are a mech player. I know that most people prefer die loaders
that is absolutely true.
So that is an advantage. If you plan on playing both, probably the LTR might be a better option.
And the thing too with the mech thing is, remember, there's no eyes in the gun, and this is a more forceful system of feeding, which is what people prefer. Whereas with like the SPIRE platform, it's a little more passive, and you are a little more likely to chop paint. Plus, rate of fire can't quite keep up to what this can, and that's going to be my main selling point to the rotor, other than its durability and the fact that I could hawk this thing at the ground and it'll probably still work. Is the rate of fire. What do they argue, like 30 or 50 plus balls per second?
I think it's like
or something like that.
25 to 30. Yeah.
So you're going to cap out like your finger before this thing will cap out on how fast.
Something to mention about that though, Doug, is with the LTR that I found is that it uses the rotor assembly inside is all hard plastic, and it goes two different ways. So if you're shooting really brittle paint, I've seen people blend paint in the LTR or even the R2 just because.
It's very forceful.
I mean, it is forceful, but like it's got to be really brittle paint. Like
that has to be like 5-star that chilled in a freezer for a bit. Like
right.
Normally, it's not so much breaking paint in the hopper as I've seen jamming, which is a huge discussion.
You do have a shark fin right here, which basically reverses the rotor drive stack, so that you should technically be able to unjam. I saw somebody at the field last weekend that literally had a jam, pulled it twice, and he was unjammed and he was firing again.
For the most part, it does clear it. Honestly, the turning point for me was at MSXL back in 2018. Like 2 points in a row, I had a pretty crucial lane that was keeping people out of the snake, and my rotor went down in the middle of that. They got through, we lost the point. So for me, that was the turning point of like, why did that have to happen right then, kind of thing. I can't even remember if I was able to get it back up and running, but like that right there for me made the SPIRE platform worth it.
So have you used the IR at all?
Yeah, I had that. That's my backup loader, is the IR2.
Yeah, so
extensively.
This one, they kind of Virtue advertises it as anti-jam. I would 100% agree with that. I've never
seen them jam.
And like it does have this, or actually no, it doesn't have that. But
there's
needless to say, like it doesn't have any mechanism to anti-jam besides taking your loader apart and like trying
physically removing
it. But I've used the IR2 a lot as well, and I've never jammed that I can think of. I've never jammed with it. So that is nice with the IR2, but your rate of fire isn't going to be as high. It is going to handle brittle paint a little bit better because the actual drive cone has rubber tips, whereas obviously we talked about the hard plastic of the LTR, so there is that.
So and here's the thing, both are definitely durable. I will give more credit to the durability to the LTR.
Yes.
Since SPIRE has updated these shells to be this platform instead of the old SPIRE kind of top lid thing. These come apart way less, which is super nice to see.
Yeah.
That was my big reason, because I originally had the original IR as my backup loader, but I was like, this is more secure. I'd rather have this. So
Agreed.
went with it, immediately loved it. It really comes down to what kind of player you are. If you are playing mostly mech, or if you're playing in some weird old school division of paintball where you can shoot 15 plus balls per second, maybe a rotor is more for you. Or if you're more playing rec, like where you maybe have a gun that you can turn on full auto and turn to high rates of fire. Or again, if you're just playing rec and you like to shoot mech really fast, LTR is probably not a bad option. But if you are looking for simplicity, not jamming, soft on paint, and if you think you might be oriented towards tournament play, which is currently only capping out at 10.5 as far as the balls per second rate of fire, I really think the SPIRE is a better option for you. You're going to have fewer problems with it. And my biggest thing, we encounter rain a lot at tournaments. And I'm going to link up here to a video that I did about some tips for playing in the rain. But the way that you can switch back and forth with your lids between the rain lid and your speed feed is night and day between these two loaders.
So
that took
with the
3 seconds.
With the IR2, it's just a tab. So all of your speed feeds, which as far as upgrades go, you do have to spend extra money on this one as far as getting your spring ramp, where the LTR already comes with it.
Yep.
The speed feeds are more expensive for the SPIRE iR2, but they do offer. HK Army has the Evo, which is metal.
Yep. Very durable.
Excuse me. The Bunker Kings and Virtue has plastic, as well as like a rubber.
Yep.
Bunker Kings NTR, and then the Virtue Crown. So there is that, and then Virtue just came out with a budget option,
R or whatever, right?
the SFR option. So there's like 4 or 5 different speed feed options with that. With this, in order for you to install a speed feed, you actually have to take it fully apart, and then there is 5 total screws they have to take off. The faceplate comes off here, and then you can put your speed feed in. They really only offer a like a rubber option, and the rubber tends to wear, so you have to replace the speed feed. But
and then if you get caught in the rain as well, like I said, like you basically have to buy a whole, and you can buy another top shell for these things. So you theoretically you could buy just a second top shell that has your speed feed or has your rain lid already attached.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's going to end up costing you about the same as buying a speed feed for this thing.
That is true.
So arguably to have
but the speed feed itself is cheaper.
The speed feed itself is cheaper, yes.
Yeah,
but
because
that's
HK Army, Exalt, and Dye have speed feeds.
Do you have a rough idea how much the top shell is for those things off the top of your head?
No, I don't.
I'm going to make the argument, not knowing, sorry, maybe I'll look into it as I'm editing this, but that between buying the cheaper speed feed but also having to buy another top shell versus just buying the speed feed that you would need for this, that would probably balance out. Mm-hmm. And that would only put you at about $10 more for getting the ramps for this thing over that loader. Mm-hmm. And then at that point it really becomes what is the difference of $10 to you for the benefits that come with it. Right. So for me, that's the ability to quickly switch out into a different different lid on the loader. Probably easier to store that in your bag as well, as opposed to having a whole other half a loader in your bag, versus durability, speed that you get with the Dye loader. So there's a lot of things to kind of weigh here.
Yeah, so durability and speed on this side, and then
simplicity,
and
like just use
upgradability,
and like user interface is easier over here.
Yeah. So, but guys, we recommend both these loaders. Like, I can't necessarily say I like one over the other more.
They both have their place. They absolutely do.
They both definitely have their place. They're both great loaders for that $100 price point. You can't go wrong with either one of them. They're great loaders. Like, you don't need to spend $200 for R2 or SPIRE 4. Obviously, if you play a lot and everything else like that, that's great. But like, these will definitely do the job. They're very simple. You just hit the power button and they go, and they are pretty nice.
Does the SPIRE iR also take the in-charge battery?
It does.
Can that fit in the rotor?
Yes.
Okay, so the in-charge battery can fit. I have heard that before.
Yeah.
So there is an option to make these rechargeable as well if you want.
Yep. Virtue offers the in-charge, so you can do that. But I personally like the double A's just because it's a lot easier.
If I show up and my shit's dead, I can just drop some batteries.
One last thing too is I think the LTR might be a little bit heavier than the IR2. So from a weight perspective, because both of these don't have batteries in them, and it is definitely noticeable that this is heavier, but because it's a lot more durable, it has a thicker shell.
Yep.
So that's probably the last thing that we should know.
Yes, weight is definitely going to be an argument for you guys. But thank you very much for taking the time to watch this, guys. If you've used either or both of these, definitely weigh in the comments and let us know what you think. And when you're ready to buy either one of these here from Punishers. Use the links in the links down below in the description, and we will catch you in the next one.
I'm so free.